everyone. This quick body weight flow is going to focus on posture, and in particular, the sort of rounded forward posture many of us find ourselves in after a long period of time working on a computer or on our phones. So how can we move from this rounded position into a more open, tall posture? If you're interested in this topic, I actually have a whole workshop on this available to Patreon members that includes a 30-minute discussion and then a 45-minute class kind of putting what we learn into action. So if this interests you, I would definitely recommend checking that out on Patreon. For today though, we're going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to work on opening up through the chest, mobility and stability of the shoulder joint, and strengthening the upper back and spinal erectors to kind of bring us from this position to here. No equipment is needed, and we're going to start down on the mat in a kneeling position. If kneeling is uncomfortable, feel free to sit cross-legged. We're going to start with some breath and just moving the spine. So first off, I want you to take your hands, I'll turn to the side actually, and I want you to bring them to the base of your skull. And from here, there's a ever so slight pull upward. Now you don't want to nod the chin. You want to think of just lengthening through the back of your neck, supporting that upward movement gently with your hands without tilting the chin. Now from here, we're going to inhale and we're going to open up the elbows and find a little spinal extension. So gaze shifts ever so slightly up. You can open up through the rib cage here. Now as you exhale, elbows come in, and I want you to round forward, nodding the chin gently, rounding through the mid-spine. Stay for a breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then as you inhale, I want you to stack the spine back up, the elbows open up, find that subtle extension. Again, as you exhale, round to the upper and mid spine, but keep your low back pretty neutral. Stay for a breath as you inhale. Feel that expansion of the back side of your rib cage. And on your next inhale, we stack the spine back up, elbows open up, broad across those collarbones. Last time, exhale, elbows come in, round. Now when you round, think of rounding up and over something so we're not jamming the chin down into the chest. Stay for 2 breaths this time. Really focusing on expanding through the rib cage in that mid-back area with every inhale. 1 more. Inhale, you're going to stack the spine back up to neutral. Fingertips are going to tent on the floor on either side of you. We're going to come into a side bend. I want you to take your right arm, reach it up, and then you're going to side bend over to the left. Now staying within the side bend, we're going to rotate on an exhale, twist slightly towards the floor, and on an inhale, slightly towards the ceiling. The twist is coming from that kind of mid-spine area, not from your arm, so don't drop your shoulder down. 1 more time this side. Come through the side bend, up and over to the other side. Left arm reaches up, side bend over to the right, and let's rotate. Exhale down. Last time. Come through the side bend, up tall, and then I want you to rise up all the way to your knees. I'm going to turn to face the side again. We're going to come into a hip hinge. Arms start overhead. Don't lose connection to your rib cage, so we're not going to let them flare open now. As you exhale, hips hinge back, arms sweep back behind you. Inhale, gentle squeeze of the glutes, come up tall. We're staying broad across the collarbones here. Now, as we start to warm up through the shoulder joint in this next little series, we're going to think about this idea of our arms attaching to our back with the shoulder blades. So a lot of these movements are going to be originating from that mid-back area that we just started class by mobilizing. Next time you hinge back, hold the hinge and just the arms. Press up, up. Long neutral spine here. So you have this openness across your chest, but without sinking into the low back. So that's where the abdominals come in. Length through the back of your neck. 3 more. And hold. Now I just want you to flip your palms down towards the floor, and you're going to sweep the arms up overhead by your ears and then back. So it's kind of like you're making a snow angel facing the wrong direction. Now you can see your hands ever so slightly in your peripheral vision here. If you go too wide, the ribs are going to flare open, and I don't want that. So this movement, again, originates with your shoulder blades. So we are getting that upward, downward rotation of the scapula. Next time those arms sweep overhead, hold them overhead. Now from here, you're going to cactus the elbows, making a goalpost position, sliding the elbows back, and then extending them forward. Now, are you feeling any tension in the back of your neck? Could mean a couple things. You might have some overactive neck muscles if you tend to have a forward neck position when you're at your computer. So think of kind of pushing the chin gently back, keeping that length and openness through the back of the neck. Last time. And then your hands are going to come down to the mat in a tabletop position. We're going to challenge our shoulder stability coming up next. So I want you to spread out through the fingers and really push the mat away. From here, you're going to take your left leg and you're going to extend it long behind you at a hover. Foot is flexed. Now, you're going to have extra weight in that right hand as you open up through the hips, stacking your left hip on top of the right. You can keep your left fingertips lightly on the mat for support to start. And then I just want you to close it off, squaring the hips. So we roll open through those hips and square off. Now, I want you to tune your attention to your right shin. Really push it down into the mat, because what I don't want to happen is I don't want you sinking into this bottom hip joint. So instead, picture you could almost pull away from your thigh bone with the hips. You're staying really lifted. Rotate down. Now we're going to add in a little bit of a challenge here. We're going to try to take that left hand off the mat as the hips roll open. So next time you start to roll open through the hips, get a little lighter through the fingers. Can you reach that left arm up towards the ceiling? And then rotate, close everything back down. Hand comes to the mat. Keep pushing that right shin into the mat. Easier said than done. And close it down. If you need to keep your left fingertips touching the mat for support, do it. We have 2 more here. Last one. And I want you to hold it open. Picture I'm standing at your feet and I am gently pulling on that left leg. There's length through it. You're reaching through the heel. Now we're going to come into a side plank up next. You're going to plant down through that left foot in 3, hold for 2, core is working, and 1. So that left foot comes down, and then your right foot is going to step back behind it, okay? So we're in this staggered stance plank position. Now let's focus in on our bottom shoulder. You're pushing the mat away. You're active through the lats here. We're not sinking down into the shoulder. Now I want you to bend that top elbow. We're going to come into a little bit of a rotation. Your hips do not move. It's mid-spine and up. On an exhale, twist. It's small. Inhale, open. Exhale, twist. Keep those hips stacked. Now try not to lock out completely through that bottom right elbow. 2 more. Now this time I want you to hold the twist. Bring your left hand down to meet the right. So now you're square through the chest, both hands down, but your feet are still in the side plank alignment. It's a little pulse up and down of the hips. We're going to come back into a side plank position, this time on our forearm. Right forearm will be down on the mat in 3. Last 2. And 1. If possible, don't come to your knees, just come to your feet so that you can transition down onto the forearm, and then the heels drop back down. Let's open up. We're going to come into some movement of the hips. So I want you to lower the hips down. As you do that, top elbow can come to your hip. And then on an exhale, you're going to lift the hips back up, sort of arcing them up towards the ceiling. Now I want you to think about really energizing through this bottom shoulder. We are active through this area under our armpits. So think of pulling your right elbow towards your feet without actually moving it so that you're really active and pushed away. 4 more. This is the last time and you're going to hold. Top arm up to the ceiling. Make sure hips are stacked one on top of the other. Whoa, I just had to make a big adjustment. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hips come down, bend your knees, and let's just take a counter side body stretch. Left arm up and over. Okay, we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So let's find tabletop. I'm just going to flip to face the other direction. And then from here, really spread out through those fingers. And now you're going to take your right leg, extend it long, flex the foot, lift it off the mat. So we're going to come into that hip stack. Start with your right fingertips staying tented on the floor. You're going to roll open through the hips, stacking the right hip on top of the left. And then you square it off. So we don't sink into this bottom hip joint. We squeeze through the glutes and we think long femur. Now, if you're up for it, we have that challenge coming up. Next time you roll open, can you take that right arm off of the mat up towards the ceiling? As you square off, hand comes back down. So this is a ton of shoulder and core stability. This last time open, we're going to hold. If you can, push that shin into the mat, flex that top foot, think length through the leg. We're going to come into our side plank up next. We'll start on a straight arm. Unless there are any wrist issues, then you can absolutely do the whole thing on your forearm. In 3, 2, 1. Right foot plants down, left foot elongates back so that they're staggered. Hips are stacked. And let's start by just making sure we're really active through this bottom shoulder. We're not sinking into it. Wide across your collarbones. Now bend that top elbow. Let's come into that rotation on an exhale. It's small. Small because your hips are not moving. So we're mobilizing through the thoracic spine here. Mobility through your mid-spine is so important. When we are sticky through the mid-spine, we tend to compensate with the low back, and we don't want that. We have the most movement available to us within that thoracic spine, so we want to make sure that we're using it. Next time you twist down, hold, and just bring that right hand down next to the left. So your heels are still down, you're on sort of the razor edges of that back foot, and it's the little pike of the hip on an exhale. So just bringing in a little help for that left shoulder before we go back into a side plank. 3 more. Last time. And then that left forearm is going to come down. We open up into our forearm side plank position. Now from here, we're going to move those hips. So the hips lower towards the mat as that top elbow comes in. As you exhale, start by almost moving the rib cage away from that elbow, active through the armpit area. Sort of a rainbow shape with your side body. Think about pulling this top right hip forward so that you stay stacked. 4. 4 more. And this time you're going to hold. Hips are square, top arm to the ceiling. Push the mat away. You're here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hips come down. You can bend the knees. Take that counter stretch. Good here. Okay, so shoulder stability, core is hopefully activated. We're going to move into a prone position and really dial in on working this upper back and strengthening the spinal extensors now. So to start, I want you to stack one hand on top of the other, and then your forehead is going to come down onto them. We're neutral through the pelvis, so your abdominals need to be engaged. You don't want to sink into your low back. Take your feet a little wider than hips distance apart, and I want you to slightly externally rotate them so the toes are kind of pointed to the outer edges of your mat. We're going to keep our legs down for basically all of this. So to start, we're going to lift and lower the upper body, keeping the forehead attached to the hands. On an exhale, it's length, and then you lift, long, low, hover, and then lower down. Now I'm lifting on an exhale, lowering on the inhale. If the opposite breath pattern works better for you, then I want you to do that. As long as you're moving with your breath, I'm happy. Now a note, if this is too intense with your hands on your forehead, I want you to do this with your forearms down on the mat by your side. That is a great modification. It's a little more supported. Now we're going to start adding on to this. So next time you lift up, I want you to pause. I want you to extend your arms out straight to the side in a T shape. I want you to bend the elbows, bring your hands right back in under your forehead, and then I want you to lower down. Keep that going. Open up. Lower down, 4 parts. And I realized that I just switched my breath pattern. So again, as long as you're breathing, you're doing a great job. Now this time up, I want you to hold with those arms extended out into that T shape. From here, everything is going to lower so that your nose is just lightly tapping the mat. And I just want a little pulse of the arms. So your nose is touching the mat, but you're not pressing any weight into it. So you're very much still active through the backside of your body. Those shoulder blades are gently retracting in towards each other as you lift and lower the arms. Now we're going to keep this going, except we're going to add back in that spinal extension, slow it down. So now as the arms lift up, finding that long spinal extension, lower everything down. Gaze just comes towards the front edge of your mat, not the wall in front of you. I don't want you to crane the neck. You're always thinking length through the back of the neck, even as we bring it into this lifted position. Now, next time you lift up, hold the spinal extension and the arms are going to start to tap down and up. They lift and lower. My couch is kind of in the way of my one arm, but watch the arm closest to the camera. Don't hold your breath. Next time you lift those arms up, hold. Now the whole shape goes back to that hover with the nose just lightly tapping the mat. Now I want you to sweep the arms up overhead and then sweep them back into that T shape. So bringing back in this challenge of shoulder mobility. Now, are you sinking into your low back? If you are, let's engage that abdominal wall. Legs are active as well, pressing down into that mat. Last piece of the puzzle coming up. I want you to hold those arms lifted overhead. Nose is lightly tapping the mat. Can you lift those arms up? It's going to be small, okay? Little lift, down, up, down, long through the back of your neck, almost there. We're going to add in the spinal extension in 3, in 2, and 1. Now everything lifts together. Long hover, lower down, nose and hands tap the mat. Next time you lift up, hold. This is it. Can you extend the legs so long that they come to a hover as well? You're just breathing and holding the position. You got it. I know it's uncomfortable. 4 more. You're here for 3, for 2, and 1. Relax it down, hands under your shoulders. Press yourself back into a shell stretch, which is kind of like child's pose, but very active. The abdominals are engaged and we have this rounded spine so that we get this nice flexion to counter the extension we were just doing. Now to finish up this flow, we're going to kind of put it all together, one final push. So we're going to do a push-up variation, moving from a push-up all the way down to our stomachs, sort of back into that prone position. I'm going to be doing the push-ups from my knees. You can absolutely do them from your feet if you want more of a challenge. Up to you, depends on what your body is feeling today. So I'm going to spread out through your fingers, find either your kneeling or plank position. You're going to lower yourself with control all the way down to the mat, nose lightly taps. Lift your hands off the mat. I want you to extend them straight out to the hover. You're going to draw those hands back in under your armpits, and then on an exhale, you're going to push yourself back up again. Inhale down. Extend those arms back. Pull them in, and then on an exhale, back to start. Your glutes are engaged here so that you stay open through the front of your hip joint. I don't want your butt to pike up to the ceiling. One more. Now from here, if you're on your knees, tuck your toes under, lift those knees up, pike your hips up into a downward facing dog. Walk your hands in towards your feet. I realize I'm going to be out of camera, but roll up to standing. On an exhale, nod your chin, roll forward into that forward fold. Hands to the mat. Walk yourself out into your plank position. Second set coming up. You can stay on your feet or drop your knees down. Let's go. Down to the mat. Arms extend. Draw them back in. Exhale to come up. One more. Hips up, downward facing dog. Walk your hands in towards your feet. Roll it vertebrae by vertebrae up to stand. On an exhale, nod your chin. Roll forward, hands to the mat. Walk yourself back out into that plank position. Feet or knees down. Final set, let's go. Three more. Last time. And hips back. Find a child's pose. Awesome job. I'm going to bring you through some quick stretches. Let's start by coming into a tabletop position. I want you to take your right elbow up into an open twist. And then as you exhale, you're going to thread the needle, bringing your right cheek to the mat. Now take your left arm and walk it forward. And let's just take a few deep breaths here. With every inhale, really think of directing the breath into your mid-back. Walk that left hand in. One more counter twist. Bring that right elbow up to the ceiling. And then let's take it over to the other side. Left elbow up. Exhale, thread the needle. Bringing the cheek to the mat. Take your right arm and walk it forward. Stay here for 3 deep breaths. Walk your right hand in. One more counter twist. Left elbow to the ceiling. And then from here, let's come to lay on our backs. From here, I want you to start by goal posting your elbows, palms up to the ceiling so that you're really broad across your collarbones and open through the chest. Ooh, my ponytail's in the way. And then from here, just bring your knees up into a tabletop. We're going to come into a spinal twist. So I want you to take your knees over to the left, trying to keep your arms on the ground if possible. But if that back shoulder lifts up a little bit, don't worry about it. So you have this nice opening through the chest and the front side of that back shoulder, nice twist through the spine. This should feel really good. Stay for a few breaths. When you're ready, on an exhale, you're going to bring it through center. And let's just take it over to the other side. Knees are going to drop over to the right. Got a nice big crack there in my back. If it feels good to look over the opposite shoulder, you can. When you're ready, let's come through center and finish with a full body stretch. So just reach your legs out long, arms overhead. On an inhale, you're going to get as tall as you can, take up space. And as you exhale, just relax and melt into the floor. Awesome job. That is your class. Again, if you liked it or you're just interested in learning more about posture, I have a whole workshop available on Patreon. All the info you need is at patreon.com/Nicole Pearce. If you're new to my channel, I post new workouts here for free every Monday. If you enjoy class, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all your support so much, and I'll see you next week.